Welcome to The Explainer, everyone. Today we're taking a really fascinating meta journey. We aren't just going to experience a deeply emotional story, we're actually going to completely deconstruct how that emotion is artificially and, honestly, masterfully engineered. We're going to dive into a source document that serves as an AI blueprint for creating a 10-chapter viral tragedy reel, all rendered in that iconic, warm, Studio Ghibli animation style. It follows the story of an impoverished father and his devoted son, Siam. But more importantly, it is a literal masterclass in how narrative structure, pacing, and visual aesthetics are perfectly calibrated to completely pull at our heartstrings.
So, let's talk about the psychology behind the opening, because it's brilliant. The AI source guide heavily emphasizes the 3-second hook rule. To stop a user from scrolling right past your content, you can't start slow. You've got to hit them immediately with a profound, universally resonant statement. By opening with a quote about silent sacrifice and delayed realization, the creator instantly grabs your empathy. It sets this melancholic tone right out of the gate, making us instinctively pause, lean in, and ask ourselves, wow, who in my life loves me in silence?
And you know, that hook is just the very first part of a highly deliberate formula. The source actually outlines a 5-step structural blueprint for engineering a successful tragedy reel. You start with that strong hook we just talked about, and then you rapidly build an emotional connection, usually by leveraging family dynamics or struggles. Third, you wrap the whole thing in that Ghibli aesthetic. It's a style known for soft, warm, almost fairy tale-like visuals that make even the harshest realities feel incredibly beautiful. Fourth, you layer in a heart-touching voiceover with poetic captions, and finally, you tie it all together with melancholic background music. Think a soft piano or a solitary violin. It's pretty much a precise recipe for digital empathy. To execute this blueprint, the AI source scripts out a full 10-chapter narrative arc for Siam and his father. It's totally designed to take us on a very specific emotional roller coaster. We kick things off in Chapter 1 with the dim light, which establishes the baseline of struggle. Then we peak with hope before completely plummeting into Chapter 4, the cruel twist, where a sudden loss occurs. Finally, we slowly climb our way out of the despair to reach Chapter 10, a legacy of light, providing a crucial sense of closure. Let's break down exactly how the AI directs each of these critical phases.
Okay, let's jump right into Part 1, Anatomy of a Tragedy and Building Connection.
The AI's playbook suggests the themes of familial struggle and parental sacrifice are just universally understood triggers. If you want the audience to genuinely care later on, you absolutely have to make them fall in love with the character's bond right now. And we see this perfectly executed in Chapter 1. The scene is described as a humble Bangladeshi home at night. You have an elderly father sitting at a wooden desk, squinting hard under a really dim yellow lamp just to read. But the focal point? It's his eyeglasses. They're cracked and literally held together by tape. Meanwhile, his son Siam is just watching quietly from the doorway. This single image instantly communicates a lifetime of a parent prioritizing their child over their own personal comfort.
From there, Chapters 2 and 3 are entirely dedicated to building hope. And notice how the visual language shifts dramatically here. The AI directs a move away from that dim, yellow light of the night into bright, soft daytime sunlight filtering through the windows. We see Siam working incredibly hard, tutoring a young student, slowly saving up small currency notes. The emotional payoff comes when he walks into a bright modern shop and buys this beautiful, sturdy black frame, having it wrapped neatly with a red ribbon. We are brought right along on this journey of triumph with him. We feel Siam's pride, and we're totally anticipating the father's joy.
But of course, that brings us to Part 2, the cruel twist, a sudden fall.
A tragedy, by definition, requires a fall. The AI guide basically dictates that just when the audience expects a heart-warming resolution, you have to introduce a massive narrative shock to shatter the beautiful world you just built. Our expectation was the perfect gift. Siam walking home, hugging that red ribbon box tightly. But the reality is brutally different. The AI prompt paints a chaotic scene of a busy city street at dusk. Neon lights reflecting off damp roads. The sudden jarring blur of speeding motorbike headlights. And then the beautifully wrapped box slipping from a hand, tumbling onto the hard, wet asphalt. In an instant, the perfect gift is just crushed.
The accompanying voiceover for this twist is deliberately instructed to be heartbreaking and poetic. As the animated rain begins to fall, the narration says, "Suddenly, life changes in an instant. The very hands meant to give the gift," and it just leaves the sentence hanging there. The visual language at play here, the rainy dusk, those jarring neon lights, the blurred motion, it's intentionally disorienting. It forces us to feel the exact same sudden breathless shock that the father is about to experience. And then, everything just stops. Chapter 5 brings us to the hospital.
The father frantically running down a cold, sterile white hallway, long shadows cast by emergency lights. He arrives at the ICU door only to see the doctor solemnly shake his head. All those vibrant colors and the bustling sounds of the city street from a moment ago, completely gone, replaced by the devastating reality of 3 simple words. It's all over. The pacing slows down to an absolute agonizing crawl.
Now we enter part 3, the weight of silence, the aftermath of tragedy.
The AI producer completely understands that grief isn't just about crying, it's about the agonizing emptiness that follows. By stripping away sensory inputs, it amplifies the father's profound loss. This builds right into chapter 7, which honestly delivers what might be the most powerful imagery of the entire script. The father is handed the crushed box. He opens it up to find the new glasses, but the lenses are completely shattered into a spiderweb of cracks. He holds the broken frame up to his eyes, looking through the cracked glass towards Siam's empty hospital bed. Those broken lenses, perfectly, literally symbolize the father's newly shattered worldview. To maintain this heavy emotional weight, the AI outlines very strict atmospheric rules for these post-twist chapters. The color grading absolutely must shift to muted tones or a rainy ambiance. The background music should be dialed back to nothing but a melancholic piano or violin. And most importantly, you have to rely on heavy silence. In chapter 8, we see the father sitting in Siam's untouched, dark bedroom, illuminated by nothing but a stream of moonlight, staring empty-eyed at a tear-stained letter. It's a true masterclass in using environmental storytelling to convey deep, internal grief.
Which leads us to the final act, part 4, a legacy of light, finding closure.
You see, the AI guide knows that leaving the audience in total, unresolved despair isn't actually the goal. To make the narrative truly resonant and shareable, you have to resolve the tragedy. You have to transition from the crushing weight of silence into a poignant message about carrying on. This pivot begins in chapter 9. A friend visits the grieving father and hands him Siam's old personal diary. The father opens it to the very last page. We don't even need to know exactly what is written because the result is what really matters. The scene beautifully transitions from that dark, moonlit bedroom to the father stepping out into a bright, clear morning sun. And for the very first time, he's wearing a brand new, clean pair of eyeglasses. Let's look at how the final chapter brings absolute closure to the viewer. The aesthetic shifts one last time to the golden hour. You know, that warm, beautiful sunset lighting that visually signifies the peaceful end of a journey. We see the father sitting under a large banyan tree, smiling warmly through his new glasses as he teaches a group of underprivileged children. He is actively fulfilling Siam's legacy of kindness. As the camera pans up to a soft cloud resembling a smiling face, the story delivers its ultimate message of immortal love. The tragedy hasn't just ended, it's been transformed into a quiet, enduring purpose. And we end exactly as the AI source advises for maximum engagement. After taking us on this meticulously crafted journey from silent struggle to hope to devastating loss and finally to a beautiful legacy, the creator leaves us with one final provocative question. It breaks the fourth wall, bridging the animated narrative directly into our real lives. It asks us to reflect on our own relationships, ensuring that the emotional impact of the explainer lingers long after it ends. Pretty incredibly engineered, right? Thanks for joining me on this one.